Showing on Law Weekly today, a conversation with the third presidential candidate cleared to contest the Nigerian Bar Association elections, Olumide Akpata. We talk about the role of the NBA, what kind of president the bar needs right now, and his vision for the bar. We also have our weekly recap of the top trending stories from the courtrooms. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Shola Shuyeli. In the last two episodes of the program, I've been chatting with the presidential candidates of the Nigerian Bar Association elections, scheduled for midnight on the 29th of July to 11:59 p.m. of the 30th of July 2020. Today, I talked to Olumide Akpata. He studied law at the University of Benin, Uniben, graduated in 1992, and was called to the bar in 1993. After his service year in Kano, he joined the law firm of the late great sage Dr. Mudiaga OJ SAN, where he says he learned the rudiments of litigation and courtroom advocacy. In 1996, he relocated to Lagos and teamed up with his cousin to build and sustain what is now regarded as a multi-sectoral and full-service law firm, which is now in its 25th year of existence and employs over 100 people. I began the conversation with his views on how well the NBA is playing its dual role of a professional body, catering to the needs of its members, and how well it also fulfills its role of promoting justice, human rights, rule of law, and judicial independence. Enjoy.
I think that we're not there yet. Yes, you're right. We have concurrent responsibilities to our members and to society. We have an almost divine mandate to speak out for those who don't have a voice, to represent those who are vulnerable, to agitate on their behalf for stuff that they can't get by themselves. Then we have our responsibility to our members. And I don't think, as an association, I constantly say that we're punching way below our weight category. I think there's so much more that we can do as an association. In recent times, I think we've been trying to reinvent ourselves, trying to find our voice again, but it still falls far short.
So where do we place the blame? Is it followership or leadership?
Squarely on at the doorstep of the leaders. Leaders are so-called because they ought to lead, right? So it is. I place the blame squarely at the doorstep of our leaders, not just leaders of the now, because the issues that we speak about are not issues that popped up yesterday, right? Why is it that when people talk about the bar and leadership at the bar, the name that continues to pop up is Alao Akabasho? So for me, that tells a story. So I don't think any particular NBA president is being called out. What we're saying that the collective, as a generation, right, have not exactly been up to speed. Well, they've not been up and doing, right? If all that we remember of the NBA is a president who was there, 4 decades ago or thereabout, that's a problem. You know what I mean? And that is not to say, because you can't tie everybody with the same brush. So it is not to say that there have not been isolated instances of stellar performance in terms of presidents in between Alao Akabasho and now. But it just tells me that the preponderance of opinion is that the NBA as a body over time has dipped in the estimation of the public and the members.
In your opinion, what should the ideal role of the NBA be?
Well, we have a constitution. So ideal for me would be to, as much as possible, staying true to the mandate that we have given ourselves, that we have given ourselves and that society has given us, right? So the ideal for me would be a junction where, a median in the road where our members, the needs of our members are met, right, in the main, and then we're also answering to the call of society, playing that role as a mediator, as between society and those who govern us, as the voice.
So you talked about that time, everybody keeps referring to Alawaka Basharun, that time when the voice of the NBA was respected on a lot of issues in the polity. But there are those who would say that you're not known for any form of activism. And this is a question that I asked all the other candidates, because some people are saying, oh, this crop of candidates, we don't really know their opinions on a lot of issues. They're not known for any form of activism. And that's some of the things I've heard about you too. People don't know your stand on some issues until you started running for the office of presidency. And so people are wondering, would you be able to confront the challenges as they come up and, you know, take on these issues on behalf of the bar and on behalf of the public to play that dual role that the NBA is supposed to play? What would you say to people who have such, you know, criticisms maybe?
Well, you know, first and foremost, you know, the taste of the pudding is in the eating, right? So, not all of us have been on the soapbox or have had the opportunity to be on the podium to articulate or to say what we feel. Not everybody could have gotten the microphone at one point in time or the other, right? So, my antecedents, firstly, and then the second point I must make is that you cannot pigeonhole all that NBA is about into, oh, activism, speaking truth to power. That is not all that NBA is about. And I've tried to tell you what I think is the ideal, finding that balance. So, firstly, judge me on my track record of leadership, firstly, in my professional life, right? Running a firm. What have I done in my professional life? What have I done? What have I been able to do with the practice of law? And I've been doing quite a bit. Judge me on my track records of performance as a barman. I have been at the NBA and I have given of my time, my treasure, and my talents to our association. And I think the high point was when I was chairman of the NBA section on business law. I have been a member of the NBA's NEC, National Executive Committee, since 2014. And I have made my own views known to all those who care to listen, that we must stand up to fight for the rights of our people. Now, not everybody may have had the privilege of hearing me speak or speaking to those issues, but I say in response to them, well, you know, there is a gamble you must take in deciding who your leaders are. You really cannot know in totality what this individual stands for or what he or she can do. But you would have to, at some point, make a decision, right? I know where I stand on issues, even if I may not have a megaphone, right, to articulate these issues or to propagate these issues. But I know where I stand. And those who are close to me, even those who are on the NEC of the NBA, know. Take a case in point when the Chief Justice of Nigeria was removed by the President of Nigeria. I was categorical in private and in public on the floor of NEC. I made it quite clear where I stood on that matter, that it was an absolute no-no, totally unacceptable to me. It was sacrilege, as far as I was concerned. And speaking truth to power, it cannot be any other way. How else? I mean, a coward dies 9 times, they say, before his death. You know, what really should be the inhibition? Why can we not say it as it is? That's my own attitude to these things.
The issue of disregard for the ethics of the profession, that's another thing I want us to talk about. Some people will say that senior lawyers are the ones responsible, but it's debatable. But what are your plans to enforce discipline at the bar?
Okay, I doubt and I wonder whether ethics is still being taught, right? I know that those who run the law school probably come after me when I say this, but from what I see, I have my doubts whether or not. And then, well, another way to look at it, maybe it's not only in school. Maybe ethics is beyond school, you know, comes from home, comes from, you know, your education, pre-law school. But there is a real problem regarding the ethics of the profession and whether or not those ethics are being imbibed by practitioners today is really, really worrying. So the way to do it or to deal with it is to ensure that we have a robust sanctioning system, a robust disciplinary system. And yes, we do have the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, but I think that it must be rejigged, it must be properly resourced. We are a self-regulating organization, essentially, and to whom much is given, much is expected. We must demonstrate to society that we take the business of sanctioning or disciplining our members seriously. I don't think we do enough. And even though we have this committee in place and most of the members are well-intentioned, I don't think they are properly resourced, because justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done, as we always say. So in a profession where you now churn out 7,000 members every year, and you have a system that was put in place to deal with a profession that probably had only 10,000 members at the time when it was established, definitely you find out that the structure cannot be fit for purpose. So properly resourced, let us rethink those who we put on our panels to discipline our members. We must name and shame those who give us a bad name, so that the public can have confidence in us again.
There's also been those who say that there are divisions within the bar. And I don't know what's attributable to it, but there are people who say that one of the things I've heard is that because the NBA doesn't champion a lot of issues, we've had other bodies like the JRP, Justice Reform Project, the body of senior advocates, and some other bodies, speaking up when the NBA should be speaking up. What are you going to do to unite the bar?
Uniting the bar? I have a problem with that. I would rather say we must agree on certain principles. So you say there are divisions in the bar. I think the divisions that exist because as a group we have allowed those cleavages that exist in the wider society to take root in our own profession. So you find that tribalism, very much existent at the NBA. Religious intolerance, I see that at the NBA, right? I think that what we need to do is to have a leader who will be able to galvanize the people to understand that, yes, we are different. Yes, we are not going to agree on everything, but let us ring-fence certain ideals.
One other issue that has dominated discussions recently is that of widespread unemployment, lack of opportunities, poor pay, inadequate training of especially young lawyers. What have you done in the past to tackle these issues? And if you achieve your dreams of becoming president of the NBA, what would you do differently?
The welfare of lawyers is really a major issue and is a source of concern to me. Welfare of lawyers, young or old. And let me tell you, before I tell you what I have done, let me tell you where the major problem, the basic problem comes from. It comes from the way lawyers are trained in Nigeria, right? Our leaders have done us a great disservice. Leaders of the profession, leaders of those who drive the system of legal education. They've done us great disservice because you're churning out close to 7,000 lawyers every year, right? Trained essentially to practice one or two types of law, if I may call it that, or to practice in one or two areas of the profession. And so you hear the popular refrain, there are too many lawyers in Nigeria. But I always retort, there are too many lawyers doing the same thing. So it's simple economics. If 100,000 people are offering the same kind of service, of course, it becomes a buyer's market. So that is why you find somebody earning 20,000 naira as a lawyer. And the same person who is paying him 20,000 is paying his driver 100,000 because there are not that many good drivers around. The lawyer, right, in terms of welfare, why is he earning so little? Because his value in terms of what he can offer to this economy is little. He is mostly a guy who does real estate law and then he does litigation. And they come a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. So if I offer you 20,000 naira and you don't accept, there's a guy coming down the road who just is at the gate right now waiting to accept 15,000 naira. It is simple to me. So I was just giving you the provenance or the genesis of this issue, right? But then coming back to your direct question, what have I done? I have practiced law for 28 years. 25 of those years I have practiced as in a particular law firm, in my law firm. So I've always said that all those who pontificate about this issue, all those who try to take the high ground, lead by example, first and foremost. If our leaders in the profession lead by example and understand that it is their example that others will follow, and then stop paying lip service to the issue. So at my firm, it goes to the heart of the way we operate. Our HR practices are important to us. You understand what I mean? I have a partner today who walked into my firm as a youth service, a youth corps member, and she's the partner today, right? There are certain minimums we can't go below in terms of remuneration. Training of the lawyer is critical. Whether or not the person will leave us tomorrow, that's not the point.
So what can the NBA do differently to change that narrative?
Tackle the issue of how are we training our lawyers so that you can train lawyers that can actually compete in 2020. You remember last year we had a conference where we said we're facing the future. That was our theme, wanted to face the future. And I said that the future that we contemplate, or we are contemplating, is the present in other jurisdictions. We are so far behind. And so somebody talked to me about just reforming the system. What do we do? It is a state of emergency. We need to talk to those who are in charge of policy. Shola, is there any reason why we don't have universities that are dedicated to training lawyers in different areas? Okay, take University of Benin and say, okay, for University of Benin, entertainment law will be taught in this university. So any lawyer who has a bias, who would like to go into that area, know that apply to Uniben, right? Oh, we are doing solid. We were told that the economy we're diversifying to. We were told that we're going to solid minerals and agriculture. Okay, can we pick University of Abuja? At least we are sure that the Faculty of Law there will teach solid minerals. Go to South Africa, they've been teaching solid minerals. That's the mainstay of the economy. You know what I mean? But there's no deliberate policy.
So our universities should start offering specialized courses, and the NBA needs to be driving these issues.
NBA needs to trigger that conversation.
Let's move on. Let's talk about your vision for the bar.
What kind of leader do we want to see at the bar, right? And for me personally, it's a leader who can put his hand to his chest and say, I am a barman, first and foremost. I have recent relevant experience. I am not into history teaching, right? I am not here to come and tell tales of what happened years ago. I am here to talk about practical solutions to practical problems. And that recent experience is critical because we know what the recent or the problems are, right? Such a leader would know what the problems are. Can I tell you about one of the major problems I see at the NBA is just institutional capacity, right? Unfortunately, over time, we have not built a strong institution. And just like our country, we focus on big men and we don't focus on big institutions. So, we're just a reflection of our larger society. So I have a problem with our institution and I think it needs to be enhanced at the level of the secretariat, at the level of just our practices, our processes, so that, because we have 125 branches around the country, we have membership, financial members, probably close to 40,000. Then, of course, lawyers operating in the country are much more. We have 3 sections. We have fora and committees. There is a level of synergy and alignment that is required for that big organization to deliver in terms of the expectations of its members. And it cannot be a fluke. It has to be well thought through. It must be planned.
It has to be deliberate.
It has to be deliberate.
Intentional, yeah.
And I, on my own, in my professional life, in the last 25 years, I have been running an organization that today has a head count of 150 people. We have well over 100 lawyers in my firm. And we're deliberate. We have to know, it cannot be that we hope it will happen. We must plan for it to happen, if you understand what I mean. So it is that experience that we require, right? Somebody who has a track record of managing men and resources and galvanizing people towards achieving the objectives of the organization. So I think it's important that anybody who wants to aspire to the leadership of our organization must actually know, must have that kind of background. You have run an organization before, you are close enough to this the association to understand its problems.
So that you come in, and
you
hit the ground running.
It's 24 months, Shola. I like to say it in terms of months. So we remember that we don't have the luxury of anybody coming to learn on the job.
Okay, so while preparing for this interview, I had people on social media, especially lawyers, send me some questions that they would like me to ask the candidates. And one of the questions that kept coming up is this, and I'm going to ask you. Some people say that you're the biggest spender in these elections, that you're throwing money at the branches. How would you react to that?
It's a total lie. You know, falsehood. And you know, I would like anybody who says that to come up and, you know, we can't, you know, we have to de-anonymize this kind of allegations. You know, we have to come up and say, okay, he spent money here, there, or elsewhere. Total lie. Having said that, an operation of this nature comes with its own expenses. And anybody who wants to play the ostrich and pretend that this process does not come with his own expenditure profile, right? You know, I would not be part of that conversation because I am not a hypocrite, and neither do I play to the gallery or do I pretend